Hello again, welcome to my MEXT Scholar vlog. This edition will be academic based and it's going to be about my toughest week at the university so far. The reason it was a tough week and I had a lot of work to do was that I participated in two main presentation events that take place each one of them only once in a while, maybe once in 6 months or so, or even a year. And this was the first time I participated in both since my arrival in October. The first event is called paper reading. For this event, members of the lab are separated into several groups, or as we call them, teams, and they prepare for presentations of scientific article. Basically, what we do is we gather as a team starting a whole 1 month prior to the presentation in question. Then we choose who is going to be doing a presentation next, and then this person reads articles and actually together with the rest of the team they read articles and choose one, and then whoever is going to be the presenter prepares a presentation, visual PowerPoint presentation linked to this paper, while really making sure they understand everything about it. And then the next week and a couple of weeks that follow before the presentation, the presenter shares their progress with the rest of the group and receives feedback until the presentation is completely ready and the presenter is ready to present. So the topic of my presentation was zero-shot neural machine translation and ways in which to improve its performance, notably how to get rid of some common issues. I don't know, like, if my audience is necessarily into exactly what I'm doing academically, and I don't think it matters that much, but basically zero shot means that machine translation occurs between a language pair that the system has not seen beforehand. For example, it has seen translation from Bulgarian to English and from English to Japanese, but then it's being asked to directly translate from Bulgarian to Japanese. And it is hard on a system. Notably, it very often needs to get the target language wrong, as in it will anyway translate into English and not Japanese. That's basically what I have been presenting. The other members of my group have been very helpful, giving a lot of feedback about things I can change in the presentation, like in a really, really detailed manner. So I spent a long time on just modifying the presentation, adding figures, removing things that may not be so relevant. And on Monday, the 30th of May, I presented the paper. There is a recording that is available, so I'm going to put a little extract here. It does not contain any visual of me presenting, just the PowerPoint presentation. I think it went well. I think I really understood everything in lots of detail prior to presenting. I think I sounded more or less confident while presenting. And then there were questions from the audience, which of course shows interest, and I hope I managed to answer them adequately enough. So I'll leave you to an extract of the presentation. So welcome to this week's paper reading. During the next 2 weeks, our team is going to talk about zero-shot neural machine translation, and more specifically about
improving it, that is to say, reducing to a maximum the common problems that occur while dealing with it. The content of today's reading will be first a little bit of a background, starting from the general topic of multilingual neural-machine translation, and then moving down to low resource and finally zero-shot neural-machine translation. And then a quick overview of back translation, what it is and how it is used. Then we'll go on to have a look at the main paper that I'll be discussing today. It's called Improving Massively Multilingual Neural-Machine Translation and Zero-Shot Translation, Zhang et al. So the main points in this paper are the addition of model depth and language-specific techniques to multilingual models, and then another technique that relates to zero-shot NLP in particular, which is random online back translation using a specific algorithm called ROBT. And after that, we'll quickly talk about two alternative solutions to the off-target translation problem. Off-target translation means that the target language of zero-shot NMT is wrong. So one such alternative solution is just optimizing to a maximum the use of language tags, placing them in the right way in the encoder versus decoder, as well as using the right combination of source and target labels. And then word alignment supervision, that is to say, ensuring implicitly the supervision. Okay, starting with an overview of the topic: multilingual neural-machine translation, low resource, and zero-shot neural-machine translation. So, firstly, just multilingual neural-machine translation is used to refer to all systems that handle more than one language pair. A very common benefit of these systems is the concept of transfer learning. That is to say, when languages can help with other languages, usually higher resource languages being able to generalize to a point that they aid in lower resource languages where there is no sufficient parallel data. So these kind of models are usually used namely for low resource scenarios. And an ideal that has been sought in recent years is to attain a universal model with a very large number of languages whose performance is sufficiently good to be comparable with bilingual counterparts. A main problem that occurs is the capacity bottleneck. So when we are dealing with many language pairs, and especially over 100 language pairs, a scenario that is referred to as massively multilingual neural-machine translation, the quality deteriorates rapidly with the increase of the number of languages. Another important concept when it comes to multilingual neural-machine translation is parameter sharing. So models seek to introduce the optimal level of parameter sharing, which can range from only sharing the attention mechanism to a full sharing of embeddings, encoder and decoder. Vocabulary may also be shared, which is particularly useful when it comes to languages that are similar in terms of language family. There is no optimal level of parameter sharing per se, as it depends on the languages in question, as well as the number of them and what we are seeking to achieve, such as the level of compactness of the model.
All right. Now, what about the other big event that I had during the same week? the toughest week so far. So the same Friday the 3rd of June, I was scheduled to present in a so-called research meeting. This is a meeting during which members of the lab are invited to present their progress in whatever they are doing. So for master's students or PhD students, this is their thesis that they're working on. For me, it is the project that I have been working on in relation to my MEXT specialization that I had applied for. So once again, it was to be in front of the whole lab. I had prepared slides based on what I have been doing since the beginning of the academic year. My professor gave me feedback, once again, things I could change and improve. So again, it took a while to prepare the slides for this presentation. And the way it itself went, I would say, was not as good as a paper reading presentation. Some possible reasons behind that. Well, for one thing, I had slept like only 3 hours per night during the whole week, between Monday and Friday. So maybe it was starting to take its toll. And also, it was a day when I had already had like 4 hours of Japanese lessons prior to the presentation, so I was a bit tired. And also I think I didn't prepare as well, because my feeling was this is my own project, so I am very aware of what has been going on. I'm really ready to discuss any aspect of it. However, this may have come with a disadvantage, because sometimes you need to look more globally into your project, kind of remove yourself from it a little bit. So at the end, when I was asked some questions, I started doubting to what extent my research makes sense. And that made me feel bad, because I had submitted abstract and an article for a particular conference that was very important for me, the Computational Linguistics in Bulgaria conference of 2022, and I was waiting for the notification this exact week, and I had not received it. So I started really worrying about whether I was going to be accepted to present at the conference, or whether my research made not so much sense. Basically, my research is linked to machine translation from Japanese to Bulgarian and how to improve it given the scarceness of parallel corpora present online. And I have been looking at a large corpus that contains 4.1 million parallel sentences in the 2 languages, but that is very noisy. That is to say, the sentences are not exact translations of one another. Sometimes the sentences make no sense, even when looked at in an isolated manner. So I have been talking about filtering this large corpus and coming up with a smaller one that's of higher quality, and based on it, training a machine translation system. And the good news is, actually, during the weekend, I did receive the notification, and yes, I have been accepted to present at the conference. So that was a big relief, and I feel like I worked really hard last week. So this week, which is coincidentally the beginning of the rainy season, the weather is really not nice outside, but I'm feeling great. I feel like I can relax a little bit more and focus on my Japanese studies a little bit more. Okay, thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in the next vlog, which is probably not going to be as strictly academic as this one. Bye bye!